Senator Warner graciously yielded back his extra 3 or 4 minutes. I'll just add that to my extra 3 or 4 minutes to get 8 or 9 extra minutes maybe. No, I'll try to be brief. Madam Chair, welcome back. Throughout much of its history, the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates when economic growth is strong and accompanying inflation is growing. Hence the cliche that the Federal Reserve takes the punch bowl away right as the party is getting going. In December, we were in the middle of a quarter with 0.7% economic growth, and inflation was below the stated target. The Open Market Committee raised interest rates. Could you explain why this historical anomaly occurred?
Well, our focus is on the labor market and the path that it is on, and the fact that economic growth has been very slow, and this has been true for quite some time, and yet the labor market has made more or less continuous improvements is a reflection of slow pace of productivity growth, I would say. So we saw a labor market where jobs were being created at a pace of around 225,000 or so a month. The unemployment rate had fell to very close to levels we would regard as sustainable in the longer run, although in my view there remains slack. There did and still remains some slack in the labor market. Monetary policy was highly accommodative. The funds rate had been at 0 for 7 years, and we had a large balance sheet. So we were not talking about moving to a restrictive stance of policy, simply diminishing accommodation by a modest amount. And while inflation was running below our 2% objective, the committee judged that transitory factors, particularly energy prices and the appreciation of the dollar, were placing down significant downward pressure that would ebb over time, and as the labor market continued to improve, that inflation would move back up to 2%. And we want to make sure, given the lags in monetary policy, that we don't wait so long to begin the process of modest adjustments in the Fed funds rate that we end up significantly overshooting both of our objectives and allowing inflation to rise to the point where we would have to tighten policy in a more precipitate manner, which could potentially place ongoing sustainable economic growth and improvement in the labor market in jeopardy. So we wanted to be able to move in a very gradual way and to make sure that the economy remained on a sustainable course of improvement.
Thank you. You used a term there, transitory factors, that you also cite on page 5 of your testimony, where you say, the committee judged that much of the softness in inflation was attributable to transitory factors that are likely to abate over time. Without specifying in the written testimony, you just cited energy prices and appreciation of the dollar. Are there any other transitory factors that you are meant to reference?
Those are the main ones, and of course, energy prices have continued to move down.
Yeah. So now, 2 months on, do you still expect that energy prices and the appreciation of the dollar will halt or even turn around on their current trajectory?
So, energy prices have continued to move down. I feel eventually they will stop moving down and stabilize. Exactly when that will be, when that happens, when that eventually happens and the dollar stabilizes, inflation will begin to move up. It's hard to predict exactly when that will be, and there can be and have been surprises.
Thank you. I want to turn briefly to wages. Several members of this committee have expressed their concern about stagnant wages, especially for working class men and women in this country. I share that concern, as do apparently many people in the audience, judging by their T-shirts. One point we haven't touched upon is immigration. And here I don't mean illegal immigration, but legal immigration. We are now at record high levels of foreign-born residents in this country, something like 1/7 of all American residents were born in a foreign country. Do you think that that level of mass legal immigration has put downward pressure on the wages of working men and women in this country? Native-born Americans.
I'm not aware of evidence that suggests it has, but would need to look into that. I'm not aware of evidence on that.
Okay, thank you.